Welcome to Empowerment of Faith Kingdom Center for Ambassadors. My name is Elder Crystal Fulton, and I am going to share a word on it is time to dominate your health. Before I get started, I want to thank Dr. Larry for allowing me to share this word on his platform, as well as the Father entrusted me with this word as it goes forward. So I just pray that it brings illumination to those who hear it. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get started. So did you know that stress is the number one cause for many common diseases that people are battling with today? A lot of the health related problems caused by stress, one of them is heart attack or heart disease. Stress actually causes our heart rate and blood flow to increase. So when we are stressing and we are in a chronic stress state where we're just always stressing and stressing, this can be overworking the heart and also cause hypertension. And I believe my other message, I talked about hypertension and the dangers of hypertension and how dangerous that is. It also releases cortisol and triglycerides. I'm sorry, not cortisol, cholesterol and triglycerides. So one of the things with cholesterol is that it causes blockage. It can cause blockage in the arteries as well as triglycerides, and triglycerides is also known as fat. Another thing that stress can cause is shortness of breath and hyperventilation. So people who are stressing and they have the underlying disease of asthma, this can cause them to have an asthma attack, as well as people with COPD or emphysema. They can also have exacerbation of their issues and cause major respiratory problems. And this is all due to stress. Obesity is also one of the leading causes. Stresses also causes obesity. And the reason why it causes obesity is because a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is actually known as a hormone, a stress hormone, but it actually does a lot more in the body. So when we stress, those cortisol levels increase in our blood. So what cortisol is supposed to do, it is supposed to regulate our body's stress response. It is supposed to control control the body's use of fat, proteins, and carbohydrates. It decreases inflammation, regulates the amount of sugar in our blood, and controls the sleep-wake cycle. So when our bodies are in a hemostatic condition, and that's a normal condition, that is our optimal state. Cortisol is actually a good thing. It actually regulates our stress. It actually controls, the fat and the protein and the carbohydrates and decreases inflammation. But when our bodies are out of order, when we have that increased stress, our bodies naturally are releasing these hormones to try to, regulate the stress. But when it becomes too much, that's when fat, proteins, carbohydrates are out of control, inflammation's out of control, blood sugars are out of control. So those people with diabetes, it becomes out of control. And we all know that when we stress, it is either hard to sleep or hard to wake up. So it just gets our whole body out of whack. Another thing that stress can cause is anxiety and depression. Now, one thing I found interesting is that in here it says the bacteria and the nerves in our gut actually have an impact on our brain. So stress can actually cause the bacteria that's in our gut to change. Now, we have bacteria in our gut to help break down the food and everything like that. But when stress causes that to change, it can influence our mood. There are also our intestines. Elohim just made our bodies so amazing to where our intestines have a protective barrier. And that protective barrier is there to make sure that the foods that we eat, some of the toxins that we eat from our food, does not get into our body and our bloodstream. So, but when we stress, our stress actually weakens that barrier. So bacteria ends up entering into our body. Elohim is just amazing on how he created our bodies. So with that being said, all of these things that can affect our mood, that stress can affect our mood. A lot of people have emotional soul ties to food. They stress eat. And when we stress eat, we eat the most unhealthiest foods high in cholesterol. I mean, we eat the fried foods, the ice cream, the candy, the cookies. We eat the most unhealthiest food. When you have that soul tie to the food and you're emotionally eating, you are stress eating. So here in Philippians 4:6-7, it says to be anxious about nothing. Sorry, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to Elohim, and the peace of Elohim that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and your mind in Yeshua, the Messiah. So right here in the word, we aren't supposed to stress in the first place. We are not supposed to be worried about anything. In everything, we are supposed to take it to the Father and pray and petition, speak his word over that situation that we're calling, that's causing us stress, and then operate in faith and thanksgiving and start thanking him for dominating the situation, for it turning into our favor. And therefore, there is no stress. And as a result, there's no stress eating. But honestly, I honestly feel like the stress eating is a trick of the enemy, of course, because it goes against the word. He says, do not stress. And it is not by happenstance that when we stress, we eat unhealthy foods. Who stresses and want to eat some broccoli? Or who stresses and want to eat something healthy? No, you stress and you want to eat something packed with sugar, packed with oil. You want to eat the most unhealthiest foods. So it's a trick of the enemy. We're not supposed to stress and we're not supposed to eat unhealthy. Another thing is it's the beast behind this, the social norm of easy access to unhealthy foods. In our society, they have made it to where it is cheaper to buy unhealthy foods than it is to buy healthy foods. And this in turns makes people more susceptible to want to eat unhealthy foods because it's cheaper. Why buy a $10 healthy meal when you can get a 4 for $4 at Wendy's? That's full of cholesterol, that's full of fats and stuff that honestly that's destroying our body slowly. One of the sayings that I have heard being said is people are getting sicker but living longer. The living longer part is almost like a term of endearment when it was said. It's like, oh, well, people are living longer. But what about that people are getting sicker part? We aren't supposed to be living sick. That is not of the Father for us to be walking around sick. And the reason why this statement is said is because there are people who are totally dependent on the healthcare system and pharmaceuticals. Now, I have nothing against the healthcare system or anything like that. I believe it has its place. However, I do not believe that as kingdom citizens that we should be dependent more on healthcare, more on drugs and all of that stuff more than we are on the Father. The word says that we are to seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness. So the kingdom of Elohim is that influence of the kingdom of heaven on the inside of us, the Holy Spirit. We are really supposed to be dependent on him. And I know for a fact in my own life that the Holy Spirit, once you become in tune to his voice, when you have that plate of food in front of you that you're not supposed to eat, you will get convicted. He will say something to you if you are in tune with the voice of the Holy Spirit, the voice of your born again spirit. But going back to these pharmaceuticals, a lot of people would prefer to pop a pill, pop a blood pressure pill, pop a cholesterol pill, pop some insulin, as opposed to changing their lifestyle. This is one of the things that in healthcare we call it, it's called a modifiable risk. We can actually change these risks and these things from happening by changing our lifestyle. We can modify it. It's not something that we can't change, but people choose to go what they consider the easy route is, well, I can just take my insulin. It's okay. I can eat this real quick. I'll just take a little extra insulin. Or, you know what, my blood pressure is a little high. I'll take another half a pill at night. And it's like, no, we are to take care of our bodies. The word says that our bodies are a temple of Elohim. So we are to take care of the temple that Elohim has given us. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it's just crazy how much people are like, hey, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on healthy foods, but yet we'll spend hundreds of dollars on medical bills. We'll spend hundreds of dollars on pharmaceuticals that now that they are dependent on just because they did not want to change the way that they eat. Okay, so let me move forward. So Elohim created us to dominate. In Bereshit 1:26, it says, then Elohim said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, over the birds in the sky, over the livestock, over all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So this is at the very beginning. This was Elohim's vision for mankind, is for us to dominate the earth. At the time, the old serpent, Lucifer, he was roaming around the earth. He had been cast down to the earth. And so he was roaming around the earth. And Elohim wanted us to dominate over all of that, dominate over him as well. We have dominion over the enemy through the Messiah. So also here, I just wanted, honestly, right here, I just wanted to really make it evident how much Elohim wants us to dominate. In the scriptures, he actually spoke to people and he was telling them, hey, I need you can rule over this. He told Kepha, transliterated as Peter, he told him that he prayed for him so that he wouldn't fail. Let's say, and the enemy wanted to sift him as wheat. So that's in Bereshit 4:7. That's where it says, if you do what is right, this is Elohim speaking to Cain. If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? If you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door and its desire is to have you, but you must rule over it. Elohim's not going to tell us to do something that we're not capable of doing, that he has not given us the capability to do. But it's our will. It's what we have. And ultimately in this story, Cain allowed sin to dominate him as opposed to him dominating over that situation. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I just wanted to let it be evident to us that Elohim truly wants us to dominate. And he's not a respecter of person. He's not going to do that with Kepha and do that with Cain and not allow us to have that same abilities in him. So also here, I just want to talk about, do you have an ear to hear and receive? So how many times, especially listening to our messages, have you heard that we can dominate your situation? How many times have you heard you can change the way that you eat? How many times have you heard that, hey, you need to do this, or this and this and this will hurt your immune system, or it will damage your heart? How many times have you actually heard someone tell you that? But the question is, do you have an ear to hear and receive? And most importantly, do you have an ear to hear and receive from the Father? And Yakab, transliterated as James 1:22-25, it says, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at himself in the mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But whoever looks intently on the perfect law that gives freedom and continue in it, not forgetting what they heard, but doing it, they are blessed in what they do. This is in every area of our life. When we hear and listen to the Father and do what it says, we are blessed. We are blessed in our health if we listen to what the Father is telling us to do, or listen to what people are telling us to do, to make our bodies to where we don't have to be dependent on the healthcare system, where we don't have to be dependent on drugs and all of that. If we just take the time to listen, hear, and receive, then we are able to live a healthy life, a blessed life, a prosperous life. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but how many times have you heard, or you yourself has said, man, I shouldn't be eating this. I shouldn't be eating this catfish. I shouldn't be eating these fries. I shouldn't be eating this ice cream. But all the while taking a whole spoonful and putting it in your mouth. How many times has that happened where you're like, man, I shouldn't be doing this? Well, who told you shouldn't be doing it? Was it the doctors, the nurses? Was it Elohim himself that just told you, hey, don't eat that? And the question is, did you receive it or did you reject it? So if you received it, then you would put that spoon down and be like, you know what, I can't. If you reject that word that Elohim has spoken to you, the word that the doctor has spoken to you, or the healthcare worker that has spoken to you, you reject that word. You're saying, hey, it's not true. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to live the way I want to live. A lot of people say you got to die from something. It don't have to be bad health. It could be from something else. It could be from what Elohim destined you to go by, but definitely it does not have to be food. Why go quicker? So it is just so important for us to break. It is time to break the chains and make the exchange. It is time to change the way that we think, especially when it comes to food and what we allow into our body. Now, I want to share something with you guys. As for me, I personally had to change the way that I thought about food. I had to really take on the original idea of the Father, which was, what did Elohim created food for? He truly created food to be a nutritional source for our bodies. He did not create food so that it can accumulate disease and cause death in our bodies. He did not create it that way. So I had to receive that idea as true for my own life and say, you know what? I'm not going to eat XYZ when I know that it has hormones. I know that it has added chemicals. I know that it has been deep fried in oil and it causes my cholesterol level to go high. I know that, I want to eat this whole cake all in one sitting, and I know that it's going to cause my blood sugar to go up. I had to exchange that idea for Elohim's idea. And once I made that exchange, I got convicted. Like when I sat in front of a plate, it was mainly for me, it was chicken. When I sat in front of a plate of chicken, instead of seeing something that was pleasing to my eye, I saw something that was full of hormones, something that was totally bad for my health and for my future. So I had to make that exchange, and I had to adhere to that conviction. And it in turn became my belief system and therefore my lifestyle. And that's the same for us and for you, is to make that exchange, because is really food worth it? Is it really worth it? Because after you eat that plate, I mean, what? I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's not worth the risk. So, back to my slides here. So it's not by happenstance. It is not by happenstance that as African Americans, African Americans have higher risk for heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and a slew of other diseases. That's not by happenstance. Our ancestors ate food to survive. They ate the worst foods to survive because they were given scraps. They were given foods that nobody wanted. Um, they were just given the worst foods, and they had to make do with what they had. However, those chains are we're no longer bound by that. We are no longer bound by that idea that, oh, we got to eat to survive. No, we're not surviving. Elohim says that he's come to give us life and life more abundantly. And our situation has changed for the most part when it comes to eating. We no longer should pass these bad eating habits down to our children. Um, we should not longer be bound by food, even though, okay, yeah, the smothered pork chops and all of that, we are creative and know how to make those foods taste so good. But how many of us know that the enemy can make anything that's horrible for us look good, feel good, and be detrimental and fatal to our spiritual well-being, to our physical well-being, to our mental well-being, and in the end leads to death. So it's time out for us to be slowly killing ourselves just for a plate of food that won't even last for a lifetime. It's only gonna last for a short period of time. But our bad eating and our unhealthy lifestyle can take our life out. So food, once again, right here, it says food is made to be fuel and nutrition. It is not, like I said before, it is not meant to cause disease and death. So once again, as I was talking about my own testimony, I had to detox my belief system. I really had to make that exchange. There were several times where I was like, hey, I'm not going to eat chicken. And I ended up eating chicken because I did not make the exchange. I did not take on the idea that Elohim did not create a chicken to be added with growth hormones and all these different things that society is adding to it. And so me personally, had to stop. And so detoxing that belief system, and then detoxing, once your belief system has been detoxed, there have been years and years and years of you eating unhealthy foods, eating the most worst foods that you could eat. And so it's been years of your body just receiving all of these toxins. And so it's time to detox your body. Get rid of all of that through herbs, through cleanses. Get rid of it, because it can cause so many other ailments and diseases that honestly, that it's a whole list full of what toxins from foods can do to us. So Once we actually detox our bodies, it gives our body a the ability to restore itself. Elohim actually created our bodies. Our bodies has a natural, innate ability to heal itself. And if you don't believe that, go cut yourself. If you no, don't cut yourself. If you were to hurt yourself, there would be a scab formed over that wound, and it's because your body has the natural ability to heal itself. A scab will be formed, and white blood cells will fill that area to try to start the healing process. So our bodies has that natural ability to heal. And that's not just from a cut, that's from the inside out. We have the natural ability to heal. However, we have to make sure that our bodies are in that normal, optimal state, not filled with toxins, not filled with sugar and all these different things that can slow our systems down, that can cause our heart rate to go up, cause our blood sugars to go up. All of these different things, our body is not made to have toxins placed inside of it. If anything, it's made to get rid of those toxins. So it is so important that we submit our mind, our will, and our emotions to the Father. Um, we honestly, as born again believers, as kingdom citizens, we have the mind of the Messiah. So in Corinthians Aleph 2:6, it says, "Who has known the mind of Yahweh so as to instruct him?" But we have the mind of the Messiah. And this is through the Holy Spirit that is dwelling on the inside of us. He knows the thoughts and the minds of the Father. Therefore, he tells us the thoughts and the minds of the Father. That's why it's so important that we know the voice of the Holy Spirit. We know the voice of our born again spirit. We also must exchange our will for the Father, the will of the Father. The Father truly wants us to prosper. He would not have prosperity in mind if his vision was for us to dominate. It's for us to dominate, it's for us to prosper in every area of our lives, including our health. In Gamil Yochanan 2:2, it says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in good health, just as your soul has prospered." So he wants us to prosper. He wants us to have a life and life more abundantly. He wants us to prosper in every area of our lives. So let's take a look at the Hebrew word prosper. So the Hebrew word for prosper is shalom. Shalom. So shalom is spelled Shin, Lamed, Vav, Mem. Shin means to destroy. Lamed is what governs. Vav is to establish or connect. Mem is chaos. So it's to destroy the authority that controls chaos. So I know y'all have heard, if y'all have listened to any of our teachings, I know you've heard shalom. Shalom has also means peace. So when we live in true peace, all chaos has been destroyed on the inside of us. And we are whole, missing nothing, nothing broken, nothing missing. And this is where true prosperity lies. I mean, in Elohim's peace comes prosperity. And that's just amazing. He wants us to have peace all in our lives, no chaos, nothing missing, nothing broken. We are totally whole and totally living a life according to him. So once we also align our emotions with the word, in Yochanan here, in Yakab, also transliterated as James, 1, 2, and 4, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kind, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing." And this is interesting because when we operate in shalom, true peace, that's when we're able to consider the trials that we go through pure joy. We are able to go through it knowing that the Father, and joy, don't mix up joy and happiness. There's a difference. Happiness is I'm happy because the situation is going good. It's temporary. But joy is knowing that regardless of what is happening, the Father is in control. And so, and we know that the testing of our faith produce perseverance. Once again, have to have that peace on the inside. Chaos, there's no chaos going on. There might be chaos going on all around me, but there's not chaos going on the inside of me. And let perseverance, you are able to persevere because on the inside it's peace. So you're walking in peace regardless of what's going on the outside. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature, complete, not lacking anything. So we are not being tossed here and there by every trial that comes our way. And we're not turning to all kinds of different things, including unhealthy foods, for comfort. We're turning to the Father. So if you're not turning to the Father, if you are allowing those situations and circumstances to dominate you, and you are turning to unhealthy foods and destroying your body, it is time to dominate. It is time to detox that belief system, and it's time to detox your body. I thank you for listening to this message today, taking the time out to listen to it. I pray that I was able to reveal some things to you through the Father, and that He is able to illuminate some things to you. So I thank you once again, and shalom.